Some moments arrive without warning, slipping into our lives like whispers in the dark, changing everything we thought we knew about ourselves. For Camila Torres, that moment came on an ordinary Wednesday morning when she accidentally sent a voice message to the wrong person. A single mistake that would unravel the careful walls she had built around her heart and reveal truths she had been hiding even from herself. Camila was 27 years old, a woman who had learned early that survival required sacrifice. Her hands, though soft to the touch, carried the memory of every odd job she had worked since age 15, cleaning houses before school, waitressing double shifts on weekends, tutoring children in mathematics while her own stomach growled from skipped meals. She had clawed her way through university, graduating with honors in business administration from a state college that nobody in corporate circles particularly cared about. But Camila cared. She cared enough to apply to every major company in the city, to face rejection after rejection with her chin held high until finally, miraculously, Henderson Global Industries had called her back. The company was an empire built on luxury real estate and investment portfolios that most people could only dream about. The headquarters occupied an entire glass tower in the financial district, 42 floors of marble, chrome, and ambition. Camila worked on the 31st floor as a junior analyst in the strategic development department. She had been there for exactly 3 weeks, still learning the coffee preferences of her colleagues, still memorizing the layout of the building, still pinching herself every morning when she swiped her access card and walked through those gleaming doors. Her boss was a man named Dominic Henderson, 41 years old, heir to the Henderson fortune, and the kind of man who made people straighten their posture when he entered a room. He had dark blonde hair that always looked perfectly styled, sharp green eyes that seemed to calculate the value of everything they observed, and a jawline that could have been carved from granite. He wore suits that cost more than Camila's monthly rent, spoke 4 languages fluently, and had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in business negotiations. People whispered about him in the break room, about his failed engagement 3 years ago to a fashion model, about how he worked 18-hour days, about how no assistant had lasted more than 6 months under his demanding standards. Camila had seen him in person only twice since starting. Once during her final interview, where he had asked her 3 questions, listened to her answers with an unreadable expression, and then simply nodded before leaving the room. The second time was last week when she had been in the elevator, and he had stepped in on the 35th floor, not even glancing at her as he made a phone call in what sounded like German. She had pressed herself against the elevator wall, trying to make herself invisible, acutely aware of how her discount store blouse probably looked next to his Italian tailoring. That Wednesday morning started like any other. Camila woke at 5:30 in her small apartment across town, a studio in a building where the elevator rarely worked, and the neighbors argued loudly enough to hear through the walls. She made instant coffee, ate toast with margarine, and put on her best work outfit, a navy dress that she had bought on sale and wore at least twice a week because she only owned 4 professional dresses total. The commute took 90 minutes, 2 buses, and a subway ride, packed in with hundreds of other people chasing their own versions of success. She arrived at the office at 8:15, dropped her bag at her desk, and immediately opened her laptop to continue working on the market analysis report that was due by end of day. Her best friend, Patricia, had texted her the night before asking about the new job, wanting all the details. Patricia was the one person who truly understood where Camila came from. They had grown up in the same neighborhood, attended the same underfunded schools, shared dreams of escaping to something better. During her morning break, Camila locked herself in one of the bathroom stalls and decided to send Patricia a voice message. It was easier than typing, and she needed to vent. The words came pouring out, unfiltered and honest. "Patricia, girl, you have no idea what working here is like. Everyone is so polished and perfect, and I feel like an imposter every single day. And my boss, Dominic Henderson, the actual owner of this company, he is honestly the most attractive man I have ever seen in real life. I know that sounds shallow, but seriously, he looks like he walked out of a magazine spread. Tall fit, those intense green eyes. I caught myself staring at him in the elevator last week like some kind of idiot. I keep wondering if someone that good-looking could actually be good at anything else, you know what I mean? Like, does all that genetic luck leave any room for actual skill? Or is he just another rich guy coasting on family money and a pretty face? Anyway, I should not even be thinking about this. He probably does not even know I exist, which is fine because I need this job more than I need any ridiculous fantasies. Camilla hit send, flushed the toilet for appearance's sake, and walked back to her desk. She worked steadily through the morning, attending a team meeting, reviewing spreadsheets, making notes for her report. Around noon, her phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced at the screen and felt her entire world tilt sideways. Message delivered to Dominic Henderson. No. No. That was impossible. She grabbed her phone with shaking hands, opened her messaging app, and stared in absolute horror at the screen. There it was, her voice message, 3 minutes and 42 seconds long, sitting in a conversation thread with a contact labeled Dominic Henderson, CEO. Her vision blurred. Her heart hammered so violently against her ribs that she thought she might be having a cardiac event. How had this happened? She scrolled frantically through her contacts and realized with sick certainty that she had recently added her boss's number to her phone after receiving a company-wide email with leadership contact information. The entry was right above Patricia's in her alphabetically sorted list. In her distracted state that morning, she must have selected the wrong name. Camilla could not breathe. The office around her seemed to spin, voices of colleagues fading into white noise. She had just sent her boss, the owner of the entire company, a voice message calling him attractive, questioning his competence, and making suggestive comments about whether he would be good in bed. This was not just embarrassing. This was career suicide. This was grounds for immediate termination. This might even be grounds for some kind of harassment claim against her. She stood abruptly, her chair rolling backward and hitting the desk behind her. Several people looked up. Camilla mumbled something about feeling sick and walked quickly toward the bathroom, her phone clutched in her sweating palm. Inside a stall, she collapsed onto the closed toilet seat, head in her hands, trying desperately to think of a solution. Could she claim her phone had been hacked? Could she say it was meant as a joke for someone else? Could she just disappear and never come back? 45 minutes passed. Camilla remained hidden in that bathroom stall, alternating between panic and nausea. Her phone buzzed twice with messages from colleagues asking if she was okay. She ignored them. Then at 12:53, a new notification appeared. An email from Dominic Henderson himself. Subject line, meeting required. With trembling fingers, Camilla opened it. Ms. Torres, please report to my office on the 42nd floor at 2 o'clock this afternoon. This is not optional. Regards, Dominic Henderson. The words were formal, cold, exactly what she would expect before being fired. Camilla felt tears burning behind her eyes but refused to let them fall. She had survived too much in her life to fall apart now. She would go to that meeting, she would apologize with whatever dignity she could muster, and she would accept the consequences. Maybe she could get a reference letter before leaving. Maybe she could find another job before her savings ran out. Maybe this humiliation would not completely destroy everything she had worked for. At 1:45, Camilla cleaned herself up, reapplied the drugstore lipstick she wore, and took the elevator to the 42nd floor. She had never been up here before. The executive level was quieter, more luxurious, with thick carpeting that absorbed sound and original artwork on the walls. A receptionist with perfect hair and a designer outfit directed her to wait in a small seating area. At precisely 2 o'clock, the receptionist's phone rang. She listened briefly, then smiled at Camilla with professional sympathy. Mr. Henderson will see you now. Last door at the end of the hall. Camilla walked that hallway like someone approaching their own execution. When she reached the heavy wooden door with a bronze nameplate, she knocked twice. Come in. His voice was deep, controlled, revealing nothing. She opened the door and stepped into an office that was larger than her entire apartment. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city. The furniture was minimalist but clearly expensive. And behind a massive desk sat Dominic Henderson, wearing a charcoal gray suit, his green eyes fixed on her with an expression she could not read. Sit down, Miss Torres. Camilla obeyed, perching on the edge of a leather chair that probably cost more than her car. Her hands were folded tightly in her lap to keep them from shaking. Dominic leaned back in his chair, steepling his fingers. Several long seconds passed in silence. Then he spoke, his tone neutral, almost curious. I received an interesting message from you this morning. Camilla felt heat flood her face. Mr. Henderson, I am so sorry. That message was never meant for you. I was venting to a friend. I selected the wrong contact. It was completely inappropriate and unprofessional, and I take full responsibility. If you want me to resign, I understand. I will clear out my desk immediately. He held up one hand, stopping her rambling. I did not ask you to resign, Camilla blinked. You did not? No. What I want is to have a conversation about what you said. He unlocked his phone and Camilla realized with fresh horror that he was going to play the message. Her own voice filled the office, casual and unguarded, making comments she wished she could erase from existence. When it finished, Dominic set the phone down and looked at her. You think I am attractive but possibly incompetent. You wonder if I am good at anything besides looking presentable. You assume I am coasting on family money. He listed her words without emotion. Is that an accurate summary? Camilla wanted to sink through the floor. I was being stupid and careless. I do not actually think those things, do you not? He tilted his head slightly, because it sounded fairly genuine to me. She did not know how to respond. Anything she said would make this worse. Dominic stood and walked around the desk, leaning against the front edge, closer now but still maintaining professional distance. Miss Torres, do you know why you were hired? Because I did well in the interviews? You did adequately in the interviews, he corrected. You were hired because your market analysis portfolio showed creative thinking that nobody else demonstrated. Your approach to problem solving was unconventional but effective. I specifically approved your hiring over candidates with more prestigious degrees because I valued that perspective. He paused. So when you question whether I recognize competence, I find it somewhat ironic. Camilla stared at him. You personally approve my hiring? I approve every hire in this company. There was something almost like amusement in his eyes now. I built Henderson Global from the ground up after my father nearly bankrupted it with poor decisions. I worked 16-hour days for 8 years to turn it profitable. I hold 3 patents in sustainable building technology. I mentor 4 startups in addition to running this company. So regarding your speculation about whether I am merely decorative, I believe I can provide evidence to the contrary. I am so sorry, Camilla whispered. That was incredibly presumptuous and rude. It was honest, Dominic said, which is more than most people in this building ever are with me. He crossed his arms. Everyone treats me either with excessive deference or calculating interest. You are the first person in years to express a genuine, unfiltered opinion, even if it was accidentally. Camilla did not understand where this was going. So I am not fired? That depends. He studied her with those penetrating green eyes. I have a proposition for you. Her stomach dropped. A proposition sounded dangerous. I need someone to work directly with me on a new development project. It requires discretion, creativity, and someone who will tell me the truth rather than what they think I want to hear. Based on that voice message, you seem capable of brutal honesty. He paused. Would you be interested? This had to be a trap. Working directly with you? Doing what? Market positioning for a new residential complex we are launching. Luxury sustainable housing. I need fresh perspective from someone who understands what younger professionals actually want, not what focus groups say they want. He waited. You would report directly to me. We would meet daily. It would be intense and demanding, but it would also be an opportunity most people at your level never receive. Camilla's mind raced. This could be incredible for her career, or it could be a disaster waiting to happen, especially given the awkward tension now hanging between them after that voice message. Why me? She asked. After what I said about you, something flickered across Dominic's face. Maybe because you see me as a person rather than a position. Maybe because I am curious whether your other speculation was as inaccurate as your assumption about my competence. His voice dropped slightly. Or maybe because I find your honesty refreshing, even when it is insulting. The air in the office suddenly felt thicker. Camilla realized he was referring to her comment about whether he would be skilled in bed. Her cheeks burned. Mr. Henderson, I should not have said any of that. Probably not, he agreed. But you did. So now we both know where we stand. You think I am attractive. I think you are interesting. The question is whether we can work together professionally despite that knowledge. He straightened. Think about it. Give me your answer tomorrow morning. Camilla stood on shaky legs. Can I ask something? Go ahead. Are you offering me this opportunity because of my work or because of what I said in that message? Dominic smiled then, a real smile that transformed his entire face. Both. Your work earned you consideration. That message made me actually pay attention, Sometimes truth arrives in unexpected packages, Miss Torres. The wise choice is recognizing it when it does. He returned to his desk, effectively dismissing her. Camilla walked out of that office in a daze, her entire understanding of the situation completely upended. She had expected to be fired. Instead, she had been offered a promotion. She had expected anger. Instead, she had encountered something that felt almost like interest. She had expected the end of her career. Instead, she was facing a door opening to possibilities she had not imagined. On the elevator ride down, alone with her thoughts, Camilla caught her reflection in the polished metal doors. She looked different somehow. Still scared, still out of her depth, but also alive in a way she had not felt in years. Dominic Henderson had looked at her not with disgust or dismissal, but with something that resembled respect. And maybe, just maybe, something more. The question was whether she was brave enough to find out what that something might be. That evening, Camilla sat in her cramped apartment, staring at the cracked ceiling while her mind replayed every moment of the conversation with Dominic. The radiator clanked in the corner, struggling against the chill that always seemed to seep through the old windows. Her phone buzzed repeatedly with messages from Patricia, demanding details about what had happened, but Camilla could not find words to explain. How could she describe the way Dominic had looked at her? That mixture of challenge and genuine curiosity. How could she articulate the strange sensation of being truly seen? Perhaps for the first time in her professional life. Her neighbor's television blared through the thin walls. Some reality show with people screaming at each other. Camilla closed her eyes and tried to imagine what working directly with Dominic would be like. Daily meetings. Close collaboration. Those intense green eyes watching her, assessing her, probably noticing every nervous habit she possessed. It should have terrified her. Instead, she felt something closer to excitement, a flutter of anticipation that she had not experienced since her first day of university, when anything still seemed possible. Sleep came in fragments that night. She dreamed of glass towers and voice messages that multiplied endlessly, of running through corporate hallways that stretched into infinity. When her alarm finally sounded at 5:30, Camilla felt exhausted but strangely determined. She showered in the tiny bathroom where the water pressure was always inconsistent, put on her second-best dress because the navy one needed washing, and applied makeup with more care than usual. Not because she wanted to impress Dominic, she told herself. Simply because this was an important day, a day that might change the entire trajectory of her career. The morning commute was its usual nightmare of crowded buses and delayed trains. Camilla stood pressed against strangers, holding onto a grimy pole, thinking about what she would say. By the time she reached Henderson Global's gleaming lobby, she had rehearsed 17 different versions of her response. None of them felt adequate. She arrived at her desk at 8 o'clock, logged into her computer, and tried to focus on routine tasks. But concentration was impossible. Every few minutes she glanced toward the elevators, wondering if Dominic had arrived yet, wondering if he was expecting her response immediately, or if she had until a specific deadline. The uncertainty gnawed at her. At 9:15, her desk phone rang. The caller ID showed an internal extension she did not recognize. "Miss Torres speaking," she answered, trying to keep her voice steady. "Miss Torres, this is Gregory from Mr. Henderson's executive office. Mr. Henderson would like to see you at your earliest convenience this morning. Would 9:30 work for your schedule?" Camilla almost laughed at the phrasing, as if she had any schedule that could not be immediately rearranged for the CEO. "Yes, 9:30 is fine. Excellent. 42nd floor. Someone will escort you from the elevator." The call ended. Camilla saved her work, stood, smoothed her dress, and tried to ignore the curious stares from nearby colleagues. They had probably noticed her mysterious meeting yesterday, probably sensed something unusual was happening. Office gossip traveled faster than email. This time, when Camilla stepped off the elevator on the executive floor, a young man in an immaculate suit was waiting. "Miss Torres? Right this way, please." He guided her through the hushed corridors, past offices with closed doors bearing names she recognized from company literature. Vice presidents, senior directors, people who occupied entirely different stratosphere from her usual world. Dominic's door was open. He sat behind his desk reading something on his computer screen, wearing a navy suit today with a silver tie. He looked up as she entered and gestured to the same chair she had occupied yesterday. Thank you for coming promptly, he said, as if she had any choice. Have you considered my offer? Camilla sat, folded her hands to keep them still. I have, and this was the moment. She could play it safe, decline politely, maintain the comfortable distance that professional hierarchies were supposed to ensure, or she could take the risk, step into the unknown, trust that her instincts about this man were not completely misguided. I accept, Camilla said. I would like to work on the project with you. Something shifted in Dominic's expression. Not quite a smile, but a softening around his eyes that suggested satisfaction. Good. I was hoping you would say that. He pulled a folder from his desk drawer and slid it across to her. This contains preliminary information about the development. Luxury apartments targeting young professionals and small families. Sustainable design, integrated technology, community spaces. I need your honest assessment of the marketing approach we have been planning. Camilla opened the folder, scanning the glossy renderings and bullet-pointed features. Everything looked expensive and impressive, but also generic. The same aspirational language every luxury development used. She flipped through several pages before looking up. Can I be completely honest? That is precisely what I am paying you for, Dominic replied. This looks like every other high-end residential marketing campaign. Beautiful but forgettable. If you want to reach young professionals, you need to speak to what actually matters to them, not just aesthetics and amenities, but values. Why should someone who cares about climate change trust that your sustainability claims are real? Why should someone who works remotely care about community spaces? What makes this different from the 50 other luxury buildings going up around the city? Dominic leaned back, studying her. Go on. You need storytelling, not just features lists. Show me the solar panels, fine, but also show me the engineer who designed the energy system and why she chose this approach. Tell me about the materials, where they came from, what impact their production had. Give me reasons to believe this is not just greenwashing. Camilla felt her confidence building as she spoke. This was her domain, where her background actually provided advantage. And honestly, most young professionals I know cannot afford luxury apartments no matter how sustainable they are. So either your target market is wrong, or your pricing structure needs reconsidering. The office fell silent. Camilla suddenly worried she had gone too far, been too critical. But Dominic was nodding slowly. That, he said, is exactly the kind of thinking I need. Everyone else tells me the renderings are beautiful and the features are impressive. Nobody questions the fundamental premise. He stood, walked to the windows overlooking the city. You are right about the pricing. We have been positioning this as pure luxury because that is what the investors want to hear. But my original vision was different. I wanted to prove that sustainable housing could be accessible, not just another status symbol for wealthy buyers. Camilla watched him, seeing something she had not expected. Genuine passion beneath the corporate polish. What changed? Reality, budgets, investor expectations. The usual compromises that happen between vision and execution. Dominic turned back to face her. But maybe there is a way to reclaim some of that original intent. That is what I want you to help me figure out. How to market this development authentically, while still satisfying the business requirements. That is a difficult balance, Camilla said carefully. Most worthwhile things are difficult. He returned to his desk. We will meet every afternoon at 3 o'clock. I am clearing an hour in my schedule. Come prepared with ideas, questions, challenges. I do not want polished presentations. I want real conversation, he paused. And Miss Torres, what you said yesterday in that voice message? About wondering whether I am competent beyond my appearance. I am going to prove you spectacularly wrong about that assumption. There was no hostility in his tone, only quiet confidence. Camilla felt her heartbeat accelerate. I am looking forward to being proven wrong. Are you? Dominic's gaze held hers for a moment longer than strictly professional. Because I suspect you do not back down from challenges easily. Something tells me you will push back, question my decisions, make me work for your agreement. That is going to make this interesting. Camilla realized they were no longer just talking about the housing project. There was a subtext running beneath the professional discussion, an acknowledgement of the attraction that voice message had exposed. Neither of them was addressing it directly, but it hung in the air between them, impossible to ignore. I should get back to my desk, Camilla said, standing, unless there is anything else you need. Actually, yes. Dominic pulled out his phone. I am going to add you to several group chats and project files. You will also need clearance for the design archives. My assistant will handle the administrative details. And Camilla, he used her first name deliberately, testing the boundary. Please understand that working this closely with me will generate attention. People will notice. They will speculate. Are you prepared for that? The question was more loaded than it appeared. Are you warning me about office gossip or about something else? Both. Dominic set his phone down. I want to be clear about something. I am offering you this opportunity because I believe in your potential. What happens professionally is separate from anything personal. If you ever feel I am crossing lines that make you uncomfortable, you tell me immediately. This only works if we can maintain honesty without fear. Camilla appreciated the directness even as it made her more nervous. And if the gossip becomes a problem, then we deal with it. I did not build this company by worrying about what people whisper in break rooms. He smiled slightly, though I admit that voice message probably gave them more ammunition than usual. Despite everything, Camilla laughed. The tension broke just a little. I really am sorry about that message. I am not, Dominic said simply. It told me something important about you, that you are real in a world full of carefully constructed personas. Do not apologize for being genuine. Camilla left his office feeling lighter somehow, as if a weight she had been carrying had shifted. The young assistant who had escorted her was waiting outside. I will walk you back to the elevator, Miss Torres. Mr. Henderson has asked me to set up your access credentials for the project files. Could you stop by my desk before you leave today? Of course. As they walked, the assistant, Gregory, made polite small talk. How was she finding Henderson Global? Had she explored all the building amenities? Did she know about the rooftop terrace that employees could use? Camilla answered automatically, her mind still processing everything that had just happened. She had expected another uncomfortable conversation. Instead, she had found something that felt almost like partnership, mutual respect wrapped in undeniable chemistry. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. Camilla tried to focus on her regular assignments, but her thoughts kept drifting to 3 o'clock, to what their first real working session would be like. Around noon, Patricia finally called. Okay, I have waited long enough, Patricia said without preamble. You sent me a message yesterday saying you could not talk because something insane happened. Then radio silence. What is going on? Camilla glanced around, making sure no colleagues were listening, then walked to an empty conference room. Remember that voice message I sent you about my boss? The one about him being hot but probably useless? Yeah, I remember. I accidentally sent it to him instead of you. Patricia made a strangled sound. You did what? Sent it directly to Dominic Henderson, the CEO, my boss's boss's boss. Oh my God, Camilla, you got fired, right? Please tell me the story has a less disastrous ending. I got promoted. Silence on the other end. Then, explain, immediately. Camilla gave her an abbreviated version of the past 24 hours. Patricia listened without interrupting, which meant she was genuinely shocked. So let me get this straight, Patricia finally said. You insult this millionaire CEO, question his abilities, make suggestive comments about his bedroom skills, and his response is to give you a better position and arrange daily private meetings? Camilla, that is either the weirdest professional opportunity ever or he is interested in you. It is about the work, Camilla insisted, though her conviction wavered. Sure it is, and I am sure those daily 3 o'clock meetings are purely professional. Nothing to do with the fact that you find him attractive and he clearly finds you interesting. Patricia, I am just saying, be careful. Rich, powerful men do not usually promote junior employees out of pure professional appreciation. There is something else going on here. Camilla knew her friend was right, but she did not want to admit it. I can handle this. I need this opportunity. Do you know how rare it is for someone like me to get this kind of access? Patricia sighed. I know. I just do not want to see you get hurt. Or worse, lose your job because things get complicated. I will be careful, Camilla promised. I have worked too hard to throw it away over a stupid crush. Is it a crush? Camilla thought about Dominic's eyes, the way he looked at her like he could see past all her carefully maintained defenses. I do not know what it is, but I'm going to find out. After the call ended, Camilla returned to her desk and threw herself into work, trying to channel her nervous energy into productivity. She researched sustainable housing trends, made notes about Millennial and Gen Z buying preferences, started sketching out ideas for marketing approaches that felt authentic rather than performative. The hours crawled by. At 2:45, Camilla gathered her laptop and notebook, freshened her lipstick in the bathroom mirror, and headed for the elevator. Her hands were sweating. This was ridiculous. She was going to a work meeting, not a date. Except it did not feel like just a work meeting. It felt significant in ways she could not quite articulate. The elevator doors opened on the 42nd floor. Gregory was waiting again. Ms. Torres. Right on time. Mr. Henderson appreciates punctuality. He led her to a different room this time. Not Dominic's main office, but a smaller conference space with a round table, whiteboards on 2 walls, and the same impressive city views. Dominic was already there, jacket off, sleeves rolled up to his elbows, looking somehow more approachable than he had that morning. There was a coffee set up on a side table, along with water and some fruit. "Help yourself," Dominic said, gesturing to the refreshments. "I figured we would be more comfortable working in here than in my office. More space to spread out materials." Camilla poured coffee, grateful for something to do with her hands. "Thank you." "So?" Dominic settled into one of the chairs, not at the head of the table, but on the side. "Show me what you have been thinking about." For the next hour, they worked. Really worked. Camilla presented her initial ideas and Dominic challenged them, asked probing questions, offered insights from his years of experience in development and marketing. It was intense but exhilarating. He treated her like an equal partner, not a subordinate. When she pushed back on his suggestions, he listened instead of dismissing her. When he disagreed, he explained his reasoning instead of simply pulling rank. They filled one of the whiteboards with notes, competing visions of how to position the development. Somewhere during the discussion, the professional boundaries softened. Dominic mentioned his frustration with investors who only cared about profit margins. Camilla talked about growing up in a neighborhood where affordable housing meant buildings with mold and broken elevators. They found common ground in wanting to create something meaningful, something that acknowledged both business realities and human needs. "You surprise me," Dominic said at one point, leaning back in his chair. "I expected competence. I did not expect passion. Why not?" Camilla asked. "Because I grew up poor? Because most people lose their passion after a few years in corporate environments. They learn to play it safe, say what is expected, stop taking risks with their ideas." He looked at her with that penetrating gaze. "You have not been worn down yet." "I have only been here 3 weeks," Camilla pointed out. "Even so, most people arrive pre-worn. You still have fire." Dominic paused. "Do not let this place extinguish it." The moment felt intimate, significant beyond the words themselves. Camilla felt something shift between them, a recognition of shared understanding. They were both in different ways, fighting against expectations, trying to carve out space for authenticity in a world that rewarded performance. At 4:15, someone knocked on the conference room door. Gregory poked his head in apologetically. "Mr. Henderson, your 4:30 call with the Singapore office is coming up." "Right, thank you." Dominic stood reluctantly. "We should wrap up." Camilla gathered her materials, feeling oddly disappointed that the hour had passed so quickly. "Same time tomorrow?" "Every day," Dominic confirmed. "This is good work, Camilla. Really good. I think we might actually create something special here." As she headed for the door, he called after her. "Camilla, that message you sent, the part about questioning my competence, do you still doubt it?" She turned back, considering. "Ask me again in a few weeks." Dominic smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. "Fair enough." Camilla rode the elevator down, feeling energized in a way she had not experienced in months, maybe years. This was what work was supposed to feel like, collaborative and challenging and meaningful. The fact that she was working with an absurdly attractive man who seemed genuinely interested in her ideas was just a bonus. A complicated, potentially dangerous bonus, but a bonus nonetheless. Over the next 2 weeks, the daily meetings became the highlight of Camilla's existence. She and Dominic developed a rhythm, a shorthand way of communicating that made the work flow naturally. They debated marketing strategies, refined messaging, sometimes argued passionately about approaches before finding synthesis and compromise. Camilla learned that Dominic had originally studied architecture before business, that he sketched buildings in the margins of his notes when he was thinking, that he drank his coffee black and arrived at the office before 6 every morning. Dominic learned that Camilla had paid for college partly through poker winnings from underground games in her neighborhood, that she spoke Spanish at home and code-switched seamlessly between worlds, that she sang off-key when she was excited about an idea, They learned each other's patterns, preferences, the subtle cues that indicated frustration or enthusiasm. And beneath all the professional productivity, the attraction simmered. Neither of them acknowledged it directly, but it was present in every accidental touch when reaching for the same marker, every moment when eye contact held a beat too long, every shared laugh that felt more personal than the situation warranted. They were both aware, both careful, both uncertain what to do about it. The office noticed. Of course they noticed. Camilla started getting looks in the hallways, whispers that stopped when she approached. Someone from her department cornered her in the break room and asked casually if she was working on something special. The tone was friendly, but the eyes were calculating. The worst was her immediate supervisor, a woman named Leslie, who had barely spoken to Camilla before. Now Leslie appeared at her desk regularly with unnecessary questions. Comments about how unusual it was for junior analysts to get pulled into executive projects. Observations about how Mr. Henderson never usually worked so closely with individual employees. "Just be careful," Leslie said one afternoon, perching on the edge of Camilla's desk with false concern. "There is a history you might not know about. A few years ago, Henderson had a thing with someone in marketing. It ended badly. She left the company. There were rumors about settlements. I am not saying anything specific, just that you should keep things professional.